My entitled miracle child sister sold her baby. My sister was a miracle baby and has been entitled since day one. Some time ago my sister gave birth to a baby boy. The boy was a miracle himself, as she tried to use a hanger to terminate herself but he somehow lived. My sister only allowed our parents to come to the hospital to meet their grandchild at the birth. They had to take a last-minute flight to LA just to be there. My sister also forbade me from going. She said I'd ruined her life enough, she wished she was an only child, wished me dead, all stuff like that in repetition. And she doesn't want me anywhere near her ever again. Well, the feeling is mutual. I haven't ever forgiven her for unaliving my dog in 8th grade. She did it in a brutal way. Stuck it in a furnace. I actually hospitalized her over this and we have totally hated each other since that day. However, 3 months before the birth my sister showed back up again. This time she pleaded with our parents to let her in to talk, and not to contact me that time because she really didn't want me there. She only had one day before she had to head back to LA, and had driven through the night. I wasn't there to see it. But from the details I got from my parents, my sister went crying to Mom and begging her to take her back into the family. My dad said that Mom hardly wanted to look at her. Dad confronted my sister and said that she didn't bother to try and contact them in years. And that she was only back and even pregnant because it was all about the money to her. Mom spoke up and told her that she hoped for so long that my sister would come home to visit, or even just talk to her. But it was years of no contact. She'd done everything for her, she'd favored her, she'd defended her lies, she'd made sure she didn't get a felony in court. And yet my sister showed zero appreciation. Dad backed this up too, and even compared me to her. And how I at least appreciated my parents. Then he blurted out that I'd been made a legal partner in the business he is having me manage, and that I'm on track to eventually take his place one day. After that my sister, I'm told, went hysterical and was screaming about how it wasn't fair, and it should be her instead. Somehow she was still allowed to spend the night in her old room. And the next morning she dropped this bomb on my parents. I heard her emotion was just gone. I guess she didn't feel the need to keep up the act anymore. She said that she'd allow Mom and Dad to adopt her child, in exchange for a house in Cali and an undisclosed sum of money that I'm not privy to. And you know what? My parents agreed. But my dad had demands of his own. In return for the adoption of my nephew, my sister gave up any and all rights to her son, signed a contract stating that she will have no part of the family ever again, and changed her legal name. That last part really surprised me. Dad went so far as to pay for her name to be changed in order to separate her from the family. This meant getting all of her information reissued. Such as her diploma, college degree, passport and anything else that ever had her name on it. All paid for by my parents. And as part of the agreement, my sister could never change her name back, or even to something similar. My parents didn't cookie-cut anything in this endeavor. My participation in it though was minimal at best. My parents went to California to purchase a house my sister approved of. But she would not be given the house until after the baby was born and in their hands. She was very unhappy about this, as she wanted to move into the house after she'd signed the contract. But our parents had none of it. They gave my sister a week to sign, and she signed in front of a lawyer in less than 48 hours. So as of then, I'm now considered an only child. I'm not gonna say I'm happy about that. I used to love my sister before she became a narcissist. But what's done is done. And I'm over it. My parents also tracked down the baby's biological father to get him to relinquish his parental rights as well. My sister found out he went back to his hometown in Arizona after he abandoned her, and my parents went to see him before the baby was born. He had no problem signing away paternal his rights after a DNA test confirmed he was the father. He must have still been in cahoots with my sister, because he also wanted a house and a payout as compensation to sign away his rights. Though not nearly as much, I'm told. My parents purchased him a cheap house somewhere and paid him off. Well, I say cheap in comparison to the house they bought for my sister in LA. This was one expensive baby to adopt. But as my dad said, it's worth every cent to make sure my grandson has a future. My dad sold one of his smaller businesses to a competitor in order to get the money together without really affecting his other finances. Said competitor had been making him offers for years, and my dad wasn't that involved with the business anymore. So he finally took the offer, but only if they retained all of the employees already there, which they did. And now it's their name on the sign. But my parents didn't care because they fully adopted my nephew. When the child was born, my sister didn't even want to hold him. And I heard even once referred to the baby as that thing, which was beyond cruel. She even admitted she was planning to sell the baby in a closed adoption to someone else, had our parents not agreed to do it themselves. She got her house, and got her money. And then promptly cut contact all over again. So she's gone from our lives for good, and no longer related to us.